finally, someone listened to me and they finally released a trailer for Rogue One, a Star Wars story, before they gave away another 30-second teaser of Luke just staring. Kudos. So yeah, this is going to be the first installment in the Star Wars Anthology series that's going to be released this December. So we'll have a new Star Wars movie every year, which I think is actually a pretty cool way to kind of keep the franchise going and to keep it well within the cultural zeitgeist and mindset on an annual basis. And so far, based off of this teaser trailer, I'm in fact probably more excited for this than I was for Force Awakens, because I always thought the idea of going back and revisiting certain historical periods in the Star Wars franchise would be a good idea, especially if told from someone else's perspective. And it seems like this movie seeks to kind of do that. I believe setting itself between Episode 3 and Episode 4, and leading into basically Princess Leia's ship outrunning the Star Destroyer at the beginning of Episode 4, and telling the story of how they got a hold of the plans of the Death Star, because you actually see the Death Star being built in this trailer, and you see a lot of kind of cool visuals throughout. People kind of, again, hitting that nostalgia factor very heavily again, with people like running through what looks to be Death Star corridors, and you know, rogue band of people like trying to outwit stormtroopers, old school stormtroopers, not First Order stormtroopers, in what looks to be desert areas and so forth, and really brought back a lot of the aesthetic of A New Hope. And hopefully the characters will be just as compelling as the old cast and new cast were for Force Awakens here. Looks as though Felicity Jones is playing a pretty badass looking protagonist, and you know, hopefully her character, there's been some rumors I've seen on the internet as to possibly maybe this is Rey's mother, possibly. I don't know. If the character proves her pedigree on the silver screen, then sure, I'd be okay with that idea. I'd totally dismiss my whole Rey as a Skywalker thing for that if Felicity Jones's character turns out to be that badass. That's what I was most excited about with this type of Star Wars movie, was the fact that you'd be able to tell different types of stories within this universe and not have to strictly adhere to the Skywalker adventure plot, essentially, because I'm sure there's a little modicum within you, there's a little bit of you that is kind of sick of seeing the Skywalkers and Solos be the center of this whole universe. Let's see what kind of the more common folk we're up to during these times. I'm all for the Expendables of Star Wars, the Black Hawk Down of Star Wars. If you ever do a Boba Fett movie, make it like Django or Django Unchained. Yes, that pun is intended. And the supporting cast looks pretty cool in here too. You get a little bit of Forrest Whitaker. I'd say any movie you can stick Forrest Whitaker into is a movie worth seeing, so go for it, sure. I'm all excited to see what barbarian-looking Whitaker can offer to this series. I'm a little curious as to who the Imperial dude dressed up in his white robes actually is. Could that possibly be kind of a wink and a nod to the foregone expanded universe that is now known as the Legends, though no longer canon? Could that be possibly a Thrawn, perhaps? And I gotta give props for a Mon Mothma shout out there. Yeah. I'd heard, and I believe I'd seen deleted scenes from Episode 3, which included Mon Mothma kind of, I believe, just talking to Bail Organa and Natalie Portman about, I mean, it was just talking scenes about, like, things that were happening, so it wasn't really that interesting, and it looks, hopefully they can give Mon Mothma some much-needed, like, a meaty role this time around. Looks like they're gonna do that character some justice in the second film now that she's shown up in. And come on, AT-ATs trudging across a tropical or desert plain. Badass, come on. As I mentioned, I might be more jazzed about this movie than I was about Force Awakens. We'll see. I hope it lives up to it. I'm a fan of the director. I like Godzilla, the newest Godzilla. I know a lot of people weren't so keen on it, but I dug what it was doing stylistically and visually, and I thought it still had plenty of tension in it, and hopefully he translates a lot of that into this sort of mercenary espionage type tale told in the galaxy far, far away. So far I'm on board with Rogue One. Looks to be some entertaining fun.